Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. All right, thank you, Mr. Producer. We are back, and I am joined by the one and only Miss Candace Plattor. Candace, so nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. This is the first time we've done it by video, which is just lovely.
Yeah. It's awesome. Now, can you kind of tell people, in case this is the first time that they're hearing and seeing your show, a little bit about what you do and where your expertise lies?
Sure. Yeah, I'm an addictions therapist, and I specialize in working with the families of people who are struggling with addiction because, there's so much help out there for addicts. There really is. There's detoxes and treatment centers and all kinds of counseling, but there's very little help out there for the families, and they struggle and suffer right alongside the addict they love. So this is what I do. I work with them. I've been doing this for about 30 years.
Gotcha. And that's why you opened up Love with Boundaries. Can you talk about what
That's
this is?
Yeah, Love with Boundaries. That's my counseling business. I named it that because we really need to love with boundaries. If we love addicts without having healthy, self-respecting boundaries, it's kind of like, why should they change anything they're doing? So it's like all is lost. So we need to love with boundaries. So my website is lovewithboundaries.com. And if you go there, you'll see that we offer a free, absolutely no obligation, 30-minute consultation, usually on Zoom, sometimes by phone, anywhere in the world, as long as you can speak English.
Right.
And we'll hear what's going on for you. We'll tell you a little bit about how we can help, and if you want to be able to work with us, off we'll go.
Okay. Sounds awesome. And one thing that's really cool is, can you tell me about your book? Because
Yeah,
you do you have a very successful book. Tell me about it.
I do. I actually have 3 books, but
Okay.
the one that I'm known the best for, I have it right here. It's called Loving an Addict, Loving Yourself. It's the top 10 survival tips for loving someone, excuse me, with an addiction, who's
Wow.
struggling with an addiction. So I wrote this book for the loved ones that I'm talking about. You know who you are if you're listening. And this book is not for the addict in your life. I know that some loved ones want to be able to say, here, read this. This will
Yeah.
help you. This will fix you. This book is not for them. They don't like this book. Addicts do not like my book because I'm talking about boundaries and consequences and how to stay healthy, how you can stay healthy loving someone with an addiction,
Right.
what kinds of things you need to do. And I want to say that I'm also 35 years clean and sober myself.
Good for you.
So thank you. So I really know about addiction. And when I call people addicts, I'm an addict too. I mean, no disrespect at all.
Of course. And
Yeah.
you do a lot of work. I want to get into the choice model in a little bit because that's something that you created. But
Yeah.
a lot of things that what you're talking about is the enabling, and this. I guess would you call that codependency as well?
We can call it codependency. Yeah.
Is that
It
kind of the same
stems
thing?
from it stems from codependency. Yeah. The way that it stems from codependency, most people have heard the word enabling now, especially if you're a loved one, you've probably heard that word.
Mhm.
Um, what it means is when you do something on a fairly consistent basis, you're doing something for somebody that they could do for themselves and they actually should be doing for themselves, like
Mhm.
their laundry, paying their rent, stuff
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
Um, and the way that it stems from codependency is that people who are codependent, it's a buzzword in the addiction system.
Mhm.
And I'm a recovering codependent, so I really know about this as well. That's when we put our own needs on the back burner
I see.
and everybody else is more important than we are. And we actually think that that's helpful. We think that we're doing something good when we do that. We're not.
Gotcha.
That's not going to help the situation at all. So the other thing about codependency is that when, I use the term people pleaser
Okay.
uh, in the same way that I use codependent. So
Hmm.
if somebody's codependent, they're a people pleaser.
Right.
And what that means is, as people pleasers, we hate conflict. I'm okay with it now, much more than I used to be,
But you
but
weren't.
we hate conflict. We will do anything to not have to have conflict
Right.
ever,
Right.
and so we don't want to make anybody mad at us, and we don't want to make anybody frustrated or disappointed in us, and so what we do is we say yes
Give in.
when we should be saying no.
Right.
That's right. We give in.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow.
And addicts know how to manipulate that system. Addicts know how to, there's this place on your chest. I love that we're video because there's this place. If you want to try to find it yourself right now, there's a place that hurts if you poke yourself.
Mm,
So try to find that place that hurts and keep poking yourself. That is what the addict does to the codependent people pleaser.
gotcha.
And and because you've caved before, they've poked you. I need this. I want this. Do this for me. You've caved and you said yes. They think you're going to cave again, so they keep on poking you until you do.
Hmm.
And that behavior of yours as a loved one keeps the addict stuck in their addiction. It does not help them move out of it.
Got it. It's ironic that we're talking about this because the other day, like I was going to go to a codependency meeting, but I just couldn't find anybody to go with me. Come on, I had to. I was trying to make you laugh. That's
I love that. Yeah, I couldn't go alone. I have to be with somebody. Yeah,
I'm just kidding around,
yeah.
but
That's so
yeah,
funny.
that
Well, I
I
mean, that's
understand. Great,
true though.
it kind of
Yeah,
is, right? But your explanation was great, and now I see the difference. Now you created uh, this way to understand addiction in a different way, and it's called the choice model. Can you talk to the
right.
audience about that?
I'd love to. Yeah. Um, you know, when people are in 12-step recovery, they're told that they have a disease. This is the language. You have a disease that you're powerless over. And they look at it like a medical disease because there's brain involvement, but there's brain involvement if I do this with my finger. We're wired to have brain involvement in everything we do. And there's definitely brain involvement in addiction. I'm not trying to minimize that.
Mhm.
But but when you look at um, telling somebody that they have a disease and they're powerless over that disease and they're going to relapse because that's a normal and natural part of recovery. That's what's taught in 12-step programs and in treatment centers that use 12-step programs.
Mhm.
So the clients in treatment centers are taught you have a disease, you have the disease of addiction, you're powerless over this disease, you'll have it for the rest of your life. You have to go to meetings every single day or you're going to relapse, and you're probably going to relapse anyway.
Wow.
To me, that is such a disempowering way to look at addiction, and I don't think it's true. I have a medical disease that I've had for nearly 50 years. It's called Crohn's disease, and I know
Uh,
that a lot of people have that
and
disease
that's what
now.
started you down that with all those medications and stuff like that's what got you
Exactly,
addiction.
exactly. I was an opioid addict without even really knowing it for about 15 years before I finally collapsed and reached the bottom
Right.
for myself. But um, so I I know what having a disease is like, and there's no known cure for Crohn's disease.
Mm.
So trust me, I have tried to get rid of Crohn's disease, and it's much better now for me because I know how to take care of myself in a better way, but it's still there. I can't stop it. I can't get rid of it. You can do that with addiction. It's a totally different animal.
Yeah.
All you have to do is stop using the addiction. And I excuse me, I don't mean to minimize
No, no,
this.
you're not at all. You're not saying it's easy to just
It's
just
not
stop. You're
easy.
not saying I get it. You're not saying that.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's very simple. Once you stop, you stop. It's
Right.
done.
Right. You don't get it
And you don't
because you're powerless over it. That doesn't mean that you are like it's bigger than you. Well, it's going to be if you don't try, right?
it's gonna yeah, we don't get anything if we don't try for it. That's absolutely for sure. And I haven't had to relapse in the 35 years that I've been clean. Um, I think even if I had, I would have gotten back up on the horse, because the choice comes from making a decision that you don't want to live this way anymore. And I don't think that anybody chooses to become an addict. I didn't. I don't think anybody chooses to. I think most people who become addicts, who become addicted, don't ever think that they're going to be addicted. That's for the other guy. They're
Yeah,
going to be
have somebody
fine. They
else.
can handle it. Yeah, no problem.
Right.
So they don't choose to become addicts, but once we're in the addiction, once we're in it, in active addiction, that's when we have a choice. We know, I can tell you, loved ones, I can tell you for sure, your addict knows what he or she is doing. Your addict knows that their lives are a mess. They look around them at other people who aren't living the same kind of life they are. They don't want to be living this way. They might be feeling a little lazy or fearful of making the changes they need to make, but they don't really want to be living this way.
Mhm.
And they're making a choice to stay in it because they don't really know how to come out of it. And that's where you come in as the family. If you do the things that actually help the addict get out of addiction instead of enabling them to stay in addiction.
I see. Yeah, that's a great, and it's such a refreshing look at it, because I if I'm hearing you correctly, I think, when they talk about the bottom, when you hit the bottom, if people don't make that decision to stop, then they really haven't hit that, but they really haven't, because there still is a choice. I mean, maybe it gets different when we're doing detox. Maybe you can talk about that. Once you're so deep into it, where chemically, physically, you need to take this, it's going to be very uncomfortable, and I know that alcohol and benzos you can die from. So
Yeah.
in that case, well, maybe let me hand that over to you. When it gets that bad, does the choice model shift a little bit, or what do you think?
No, it
Oh,
doesn't.
no.
And that's the beauty of it. I don't think it does.
Okay.
The choice is to reach out for help instead of continuing to do what you're doing until you either die by your own hand or you accidentally overdose or something.
Yeah.
At my bottom, um, I did reach out for help, but I was suicidal before I did that. I was really quite suicidal. I had the pills. I had enough pills to kill myself. I knew I could time it so that nobody would find me in time. I really scared myself because I thought about this, you
You
know.
put thought into that. Wow.
I had a choice. I wasn't seeing it that way at the time, but I had a choice between taking those pills or picking up the phone. And obviously I'm
Thank
here,
God you
so
did.
my
Yeah.
so, I picked up the phone. I called the crisis center here in Vancouver. I'm in Canada, in Vancouver, beautiful place. Um, and the rest is kind of history,
Mhm.
but it wasn't a picnic. And I made a choice every day that I did not want to go back to how I was feeling before. I did not want to be an addict anymore. I did not want that lifestyle. And once we get to that place, sometimes people have to reach quite a bottom. Mine was pretty low.
Right.
Being suicidal, signed myself into a psych ward for a month so that I could get some help.
Uh-huh.
That's a low bottom,
Mm. Yeah.
but some people's bottoms are even lower than that, and some are higher. Sometimes people don't have to go as low, and they think to themselves, I'm not okay here.
I
But
just don't want to live
again,
this way and that's what it has to happen, right?
that's really what needs to happen. And the loved ones, if you're listening out there, please know that what you're doing is so important to this whole process. You are vitally important to this process. And I want you to learn how to be effective and to love with boundaries for your addicts so that they can recover, so that they have a fighting chance of recovering.
Gotcha.
Because an enabled addict does not recover. if you're going to do everything for them, they don't recover. Why should they? Why should they do anything differently? If you're going to rescue them and give them money and let them live in your home and let them abuse your family members and let them, they're just going to keep doing that. It's easier,
Hmm.
but
So
it's not better.
right, right. So in your program, when working with that, how much is the family involved, like in groups? Tell me about the process when you start working
Yeah,
with somebody in the family.
yeah. We usually, in most cases, it's a family member that gets in touch with us because we're known for this. We're
Yeah.
quite well known for this worldwide. This is all we do. All we do is work with families who are affected by addiction. And so it's usually the loved ones who call us. They're at the end of their rope. They've tried this. They've sent them to X number of treatment centers. They don't know what else to do anymore. And so they come to us and we start working as immediately as possible with the loved ones because addiction doesn't wait. We got to get in there.
Yeah.
People are dying, right? Um, so we help the families see some of the things they may have been doing that haven't been helpful. We help them change that. We hold their hand through it. We um, we offer that free 30-minute consultation, but we also, when somebody's working with us, and let's say they have sessions once a week, some families have sessions twice a week with us. Um, but if but what we offer them is unlimited email and text support
That's
in
big.
between sessions.
That's big.
In between. So they've got a session with us on Tuesday. That's fine. We have the session. And then on Wednesday or Thursday, something happens that they don't know how to handle. Crises are happening all the time in families like this.
Yeah.
So something happens, nobody's ever taught them how to deal with it. They can be in touch with us. They don't have to wait till the next session. Get in touch with us right away. We'll help you through it.
Mm.
That's what we do.
That's huge to have that support right there. And like you said, some situations that are going to come up, you need the help of someone who's been in this for 20, 30 years, an
Yeah.
expert
And
who knows this stuff. Some people have never been through it. So to have that text
right.
say I'm unsure of what to do. I need help. You got a place to go.
Yeah. And we help you right now. I mean, if we're sleeping, if we're in a different time zone, then we're sleeping. But we'll get back to you first thing in the morning as soon
Yeah.
as we've heard from you. So we'll be there with you through the whole thing. And we teach you how to develop different behaviors with the addict that you love so much because really what we've been doing as a society as well as in families is we've been loving our addicts to death,
Yeah. It's hard.
and we need to love our addicts to life.
Yeah.
And yes, there is a way to do that works.
That's great. Hey, what do you have 3 books? What are the other 2 about?
Okay, well, they're all kind of related. So this one is the workbook. I
Oh,
don't know whether you
yeah,
can see it
I can
well.
see that. Yeah, so that's a
Yeah,
workbook. Tell me about that.
the workbook goes with it's the companion to Loving an Addict, and what it does is it helps the loved ones get down a little bit with themselves so that they start understanding why they're codependent. Where did this start for you? How did you learn that it was okay to put your own needs on the back burner? How did you start to disrespect yourself? Why do you do that? Why aren't you respecting yourself? How can you change that?
Mm.
So the workbook, it's got text in it and questions that you can answer, and it goes along with
With the other book.
Loving an
It's
Addict.
probably good to go back and read because you've written stuff down in the exercise. It's probably good to have that record of it. We can go back and see where you were.
It's like having a journal.
Yeah.
And speaking of journal, my third book is a journal. So my third book, I just love the cover of this
I
one.
love the cover. I was just to say that. Yeah, that's really
It's
nice.
Self-Respect Sunday for Your Soul if you love an addict. So what I've been doing for the past, maybe 5, 6 years, every Sunday I take a quote from, actually, it's my assistant who does it, and she does a beautiful job. I take a quote from the book and put it together with a beautiful, let's see if I, like a beautiful photograph,
Oh, cool.
right? And so this is the book version of Self Respect Sunday, which I send out to my email list every Sunday.
I see.
This is the book version of it. There are different quotes, though. These aren't the ones I've already sent out. And there are also different photos. And here's a really beautiful photo.
That is nice. Where
Yeah.
do the photos come from?
They come from different places, and she finds them online, and we choose them.
Yeah,
Um,
really nice.
yeah, she's amazing. Her name is Carol, and she's wonderful.
All right, big shout
Um,
out, Carolyn.
yeah, shout out to Carol. And then there are butterflies on every page. There's lines for you to write in, and you can keep a journal this way as well.
I noticed this one in the back
Butterflies
of
are
the
my
show.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah, I see the one in the back here. I was
yeah. Do you want?
that's what does it
Let me
represent
move
to
over.
you?
Butterflies. Okay, so I'll tell you the butterfly story. So, a butterfly, as we all know, they start out as caterpillars, and caterpillars get absolutely no respect. I mean, little boys like to squish them,
Right, right.
and little girls like to shriek, "Oh,
Yeah.
caterpillar!" And biology teachers like to dissect them. They just get no respect at all. But a caterpillar has an instinct that I really respect. A caterpillar knows that if it doesn't change, it's going to die. That's where I was. I was a caterpillar for a really long time, getting very little respect and not respecting myself either. So the caterpillar, once it has that understanding that if it doesn't change, it's going to die, it shimmies up a tree trunk, and it shimmies down a tree limb, and it hangs itself upside down, and it sits in this bag of what I like to call bug juice for as long as it takes to basically change its entire DNA. Because if you look at a butterfly, like this is the caterpillar that
Yeah.
still exists, and the rest of it is brand new.
Mm-hmm.
So it changes into this amazing creature that nobody disrespects. I mean, nobody says, "Ooh, a butterfly." Everybody says, "Wow, a butterfly, isn't that beautiful?" And they are. And they're strong, and they're fragile, and they're vulnerable, and they're tough, and they're amazing. And I am now a butterfly
That's awesome.
most days. Most days,
That's awesome.
but
Really cool.
so butterflies really, and here's one of my favorite mugs too. It's
Oh my God.
people know
Wow.
what to get me for
Right,
gifts.
right. Wow.
It's either that or chocolate.
Mr. Producer, do we got time to do one question?
Sure,
Okay,
I
cool.
hope so.
All right, Mr. Producer, got a question from the audience for Candace Plattor.
Great.
So Anonymous says, my brother has been an addict for 7 years and he keeps lashing out every time I try to help. When is it time to stop trying?
Ooh, good question.
Right. I love that question, Anonymous. I'm glad that you didn't give your name if you felt uncomfortable doing that. I'd have to know more about your situation. I think that there are things that you can still do that maybe you haven't tried yet before you shut the door on him. If you try those things, if you want to get to, have this free consultation, and we can be looking at that, but if and let us know that you're coming from this interview, okay? So just so we know. And we can look at some of those things, and the time may come for you when you're saying, I've had it, it's enough now. I'm actually working with a family in Asia, actually, who the young woman has a brother who's been addicted to alcohol for a really long time and enabled by the parents. And she's just had it. I mean, she's so angry and resentful, and she just doesn't want to have anything more to do with him. Um, but I'm working with the parents to be able to try some different things before they do that door slam,
Right.
because they haven't tried enough yet,
Mm.
enough things yet. I don't mean they haven't worked hard enough. I mean, they haven't tried enough things that would stop the enabling and
Right.
actually get his attention,
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I'd say to you, is that if you feel like you're really at the point of you're done, then by all means you can say to him, look, I love you, but I don't like your behavior, and I don't want to have anything to do with you until you decide to change. If you're at that point, then go for it.
Yeah.
If you're not quite at that point, then maybe we can help you figure out some other things to do before you have to get to that point.
Gotcha.
I
And
hope that answers your question.
it's a great answer, and
And
it's perfect that we got that, because we're out of time. So I want you to tell Anonymous and anybody who needs to get a hold of you, and your final thoughts. I'm going to give you the floor because we are out of time. So you have the floor.
Okay, I could go on for hours, though, I gotta tell you. The one other thing I'll say to Anonymous is read my book, Read
Yeah.
Loving an Addict, Loving Yourself. You can get it on Amazon, it's in bookstores. So I think, I just want to say, don't ever give up. Please don't give up, because there are things that can be done that work that maybe nobody's told you about. And that saying that I love so much, I think I've said it on every interview we've done together, Casey, that if you're going through hell, keep going. Because if you don't keep going, you're going to get stuck in hell. And that's where your addict is. So don't give up.
Wow.
We're here to help you.
Hey, how do we get a hold of you? One more time.
Lovewithboundaries.com.
Beautiful. Guys, what a great guest. I love how you're helping people. Candace Plattor, everybody. I love your attitude and everything that you're doing. What a great guest, great person. Hey, have a great Labor Day, and we will speak soon. And for the rest of you guys, we'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.